you, I graduated after 12 years in this country, in this school, in 1972. And boy, they got me to join the Navy and see the world. And that's what I did. And then it got so bad, though. I got up around 2004. I was going to Madagascar to be the naval attaché, and a woman called me up and she said, "I'm sorry, Commander, you're too damn old." So they flew me back from Ecuador to the Pentagon and threw me out. And I've been back here and waiting you ever since. I want to welcome you all to come to be here today because this is an important day to remember. Now, Memorial Day in the spring, we honor our war dead, okay? This is Veterans Day. We honor those who have served and are serving today. And for years when we did this, I was always so proud. My mother was the only female veteran, as far as we know, in the camp. And so she was always very happy to participate in things like this. We lost Mom about 6 years ago, but our lead speaker today is going to be one of you who joined the Army as a young lady. So I'm eager to hear what she has to say. Next on the checklist, we have the forward band. Let's enjoy that. Now, would you please have Piper Atkinson come up and lead us in prayer?
I'm Joe Kroom, and I'm the student council president. I'd like to thank y'all personally for all coming here. And now Piper Atkinson will say a prayer.
Will you pray with me? Dear Lord, thank you for this day. I just thank you for this opportunity to all gather here today to honor our veterans. And I just thank you for their willingness to serve our country for our freedom and sacrifice their lives, just as Jesus sacrificed his life for our freedom from death. I thank you for Chelsea and her willingness to serve and her being willing to speak at this assembly. I pray for the veterans that they would know today and every day how much we love and appreciate them. I pray that we could be a light for you as we go out from this place and that we would have a good rest of our week. All these things I ask in your name I pray. Amen.
Now, if you will all stand and join me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Now I have to start Spain with me.
You like standing.
Before we hear Chelsea come on and talk to us, Rob Pomper had kind of an interesting experience this morning. We'll ask him to give that to us now.
Thank you, Will. Now, most of us have been through history classes. We understand at least the basics of American history, and we understand that America has been in some major wars over the years. June 6, 1944, World War II, it was a turning point. It's one of those dates that I pray that all of you remember. That was the day that the Allies invaded Normandy. And it was the start of the changing of the tide in the European theater. In that battle, and I say in that battle, in that part of the war, there were people from Palmer County that were actively fighting. One of them is listed on the programs that you have. His name is James Benjamin Harrelson. And if you go to the city park, you'll see his name engraved on the monument there. I'm bringing this up in specific because I got a unique phone call this morning. Mike and Donna Radke, you know them as the folks that own Godfather's Pizza and Southwest Ave. They were in Europe on business, and this morning they took time to go to the beaches around Normandy. They got to tour Utah Beach and Omaha Beach, two of the places where the fighting was most desperate as the Allies tried to find purchase, something where they could start a war on European soil. In that battle, Benjamin Harrelson died, and he is buried in Normandy. And the Radkes went this morning to a gravesite of a person that they've never met, but a person that means a lot to our county. And they left flowers there. And I just wanted to say, take a second and realize that that was a person that went to school right here in Palmer County. That was a person who had hopes and dreams. That was a person who had a beautiful future. And that was a person that passed away on that beach in a way that helped change the world today and make the world a much better place. So thank you.
I'm very pleased and honored to make this introduction. As I said, it's good to have a veteran in the spirit of my mother here today. And I also went to school with her parents for years. We won't go into that. She joined the Army in Amarillo there in 2002. She went through basic training at the Carolinas there at Fort Jackson. She was then sent to the Defense Language School in Monterey, California, to become a linguist in Russian. Now, the two hardest languages to learn in the world are Arabic and Russian. I was there to learn Portuguese, and it was in and out the door. The Russian students didn't have as much fun as we did, because they were all trying so hard to stay in the school. And we're honored to have her here because the faculty said that she deserved the award as the most diligent student in the entire program that year. From there, she went to San Angelo there at Goodfellow Air Force Base. And then she went to Fort Hood, and then from there she decided it was time to come home. And so I will let her talk about that. I joined the Navy to see the world. I served in all 5 fleets and was stationed ashore in 6 different countries. She very rarely left Texas. She won the Distinguished Service Medal. She won the campaign awards for the Iraqi freedom and the fighting in the Persian Gulf region, and the Army Achievement Medal. And so I won't spend any more time in the introduction. Let's welcome Ms. Chester.
All right, can you hear me? All right, I'm going to set my timer now. I can't decide if I need to talk a long time to keep you out of class or a short time to get you to lunch. So I'm going to talk like an in-between time, I think. Is that all right? A long time. Okay, I got it. And I talk kind of fast and I move around a lot. So I hope that's not too distracting. But, you know, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be on this stage. I graduated from here in 1998. My parents are both graduates of Farwell High School. My grandmother is a graduate of Farwell High School. And I have a lot of friends that are veterans that are around my age. And so I see Colonel Ball here. Colonel? Okay, yeah. Talking to Will. And it's humbling to be up here, knowing the sacrifices that they've made. And you know, I just did a small part. And I was very close to Will's mom, Carrie. She was, you want to talk about G.I. Jane, that woman, she was awesome. And when I joined, she called me up. She gave me some tips, and she said, I'm proud of you. So what I want to start off with is the Soldier's Creed. And it says, I am an American soldier. I'm a warrior and a member of a team. I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values. I will always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat. I will never quit. I will never leave a fallen comrade. I am disciplined, physically and mentally tough, trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills. I always maintain my arms, my equipment, and myself. I am an expert and I am a professional. I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the enemies of the United States of America in close combat. I am a guardian of freedom and of the American way of life. I am an American soldier. I'm Specialist Chelsea Woods, or Woods, as my brothers and sisters in arms know me, and Choo Choo, as some of y'all know me, because that's my favorite name. It's my aunt name. I'm also known as Kirkland's mom, and again, I'm just blessed to be here. So I remember wanting to join the military as long as I could remember. My mama said when I was a baby, I didn't crawl like a normal baby. I crawled on my belly, just like that. Like you know, you see on TV and they're like under barbed wire in the mud and you kind of crawl. That's how I learned to crawl. And when I was about 2-3 years old, I always wanted to wear camo. And I think it's because my Uncle Duke convinced me every time I had it on, I was invisible. But I was always playing soldier. I grew up with boy cousins, and I always just knew that I wanted to be a soldier. And I would hear stories about my Uncle Tom. He was my dad's uncle, and he survived the Bataan Death March. And if you ever go to the courthouse, there's a big display of his military achievements. But he was a POW for 2 years, and he had to do things like eat his wallet to stay alive. Now, I don't know why that would inspire anybody to want to join the military, but it did me because I love the adventure, but I love my country. And I always wanted to be able to serve some way and somehow. But you know, as I got older and I started to kind of talk about that dream, and when I became a high school student and getting ready to go to college, and I kind of talked about it, and my parents weren't so much a fan of my dream, and now that I'm a parent with a high school kid, I can see why. Especially because I was always so all over the place. I just wanted adventure. Who knows how I would manage to hurt myself. But I went on to school, and I think I majored in about everything you can major in before I decided that it was time for a little more direction than studying theater this semester, Tai Chi this semester, PE this semester, and political science the next. So in my 3rd year of college, I was at my apartment with my roommate when she woke me up. And she said, turn on your TV. And it was September 11th, 2001. And we turned on the TV and we watched that day as the events of September 11th unfolded. Right then I wanted to run to the recruiter's office, I'm not going to lie. But I didn't. I went to work. And back then we had call centers because we had long distance providers, which means you had to have like a provider, you had to pay money to a provider for somebody to make a long distance call. When I got to work that day, people were trying desperately to get a hold of their loved ones in New York City. And to hear those voices on the phone, to hear the panic, and to know what had been done to our country, I knew that it was time that I needed to serve. So I started talking to my dad about it. I hid it from my mom. And he wasn't really on board yet. But I started looking at different jobs and different things and different ways I could serve. And then I waited until they went on a trip to Las Vegas and I joined behind their back. I do not recommend doing that. I think they're scarier than any drill sergeant I ever faced. But I knew that if I did this, there was no turning back. And sometimes people get months to prepare. I had 2 weeks before I left for basic. On November 29th, 2002, I began my journey as a soldier. Basic was scary, I'm not gonna lie. You started off, and this is really the time before cell phones, so I mean, now as a parent it was scarier because they had to ship me off to South Carolina with really no way of communicating with me but maybe a 2-minute phone call every couple weeks. And that was my journey to start preparing to be a soldier. We got on a bus, one big rucksack on our back, one big duffel bag on the front. You had to keep our heads down. The bus stops, you start to run uphill, and you're automatically getting screamed at. Now, thanks to Carrie, I knew that it was going to be a mind game. More than anything else, you lose sleep, you're deprived of food, Dr. Pepper, no caffeine. That was the worst part for me. But in that, I made some of the best friends I could ever make. The drill sergeants actually became, I don't want to say our friends because that makes them look a little bit soft, but we came to respect them very much. But the drill sergeants you did not want to mess with were the women. Let me tell you, you make those women mad one time we did, and all of a sudden our beds got taken away, our sheets got taken away. We had to stack everything up in one pile, and we had to sleep on the floor for 2 days. But what it did was it made us into soldiers. I was in the 3rd platoon, and I had a drill sergeant that shared my last name, so you can imagine how much fun that was for me. Don't let me down, Woods. You better not get the last, Woods. Our company set the high BRM record. That was a lot of fun. I learned to shoot a gun, and I also learned that I'm a left-handed shooter. So not only did I learn to shoot a gun, I learned to shoot a gun with shells hitting me in the face. But I did it, and I made it through by the grace of God. Turned out, after my stint at basic, my favorite drill sergeant left, went to Afghanistan, and was killed. I'll always be grateful for the sacrifice that he made for his country, but for us as soldiers, as he taught us how to be soldiers. Because you go into basic training and you go in as a kid, but you come out a soldier, you come out disciplined. You come out appreciating the small things. And you come out ready just to love and serve your country. So after basic, I was lucky enough to be able to go to the Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California. I thought that was going to be just a big vacation. It was not. Let me tell you something about going to the Defense Language Institute and what my job was going to be. The first thing I didn't know about it is that I didn't know that they were going to do a background check, but I didn't know that there was going to be a security check. And so when the FBI came to Farwell to knock on doors to ask about me, you can imagine how many questions were raised. But the thing about it is they were just making sure that I wasn't going to be somebody that was going to be an enemy of the country. So the FBI came, knocked on doors, asked people about me, and I had to obtain a security clearance because they were going to be entrusting me with very important information. I was fortunate to study the Russian language. You don't get to pick your language, so you have to take a test called the D-Lab. And depending on your score and the need of the language at the time is the language that they give you. So I'll never forget it. I never really understood how good we have it in American schools. You guys love your teachers, even the tough ones. Until the first day we had class, because what we would do on top of our regular military duties is we would have class 8 to 10 hours a day. I had to learn to read again, I had to learn to write print and cursive again, I had to learn to speak, and I had to learn to listen. And it took a lot of discipline. And at 22, 23 years old, I wasn't ready for that much discipline. I was like, man, I already graduated high school, I tried college, but I did it. And the first time we walked in, we had a class of about 8, and our teacher walked in, just imagine a Russian teacher, because yes, that's what she looked like. She had this like bright red hair, and she, Доброе утро. Nobody stood up. Apparently in Russian schools and in European schools, you stand up when your teacher walks in the room. You don't sit down until they say sit down, and they are allowed to slap you on the hands with a ruler. We did not make that mistake ever again. So my teacher, Miss Resnich, she became my friend, and she learned that I knew a lot about computers. So every day, I will give you cheese curds and mangoes if you go to my house at lunch. So I lived on a diet of cheese curds and mangoes for about 6 months while I would call the computer company and ask them why her computer wouldn't turn on or why it wouldn't update. Well, it was usually something like, plug it in. But hey, I got out and I got to form a friendship. So the differences in the schools there, it was tough, but it was fun. And we got to hang out. I got to hang out with Marines, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, all kinds of different people. And we learned to immerse ourselves in this culture. And we got to go up to San Francisco and go to Russian town, and we got to just learn all about these things for the purpose of serving our country. And when I was in language school, we invaded Baghdad. And then my need was a little bit different. So I graduated language school about 9-10 months later. And I thought that was going to be the hardest part of my military career, but it wasn't. They sent me to advanced individual training in San Angelo, Texas. And what that was is where I officially learned to become a cryptologic linguist. I joined the Military Intelligence Corps. And the description of that job is to locate the enemy by identifying foreign language communications and provide the commander with real-time intelligence, employ high-tech intercept system and language expertise while working with government agencies to protect national security. You report on the job using advanced signals technology. You identify and analyze foreign communications to support missions. You provide transcriptions and translations into foreign language. You utilize advanced signals technologies and handle classified information and prepare intelligence reports. In other words, I'm going to justify the words my daughter said up here in the 6th grade, I was a spy. She said, Mom, I told them what you did, and they all laughed. I said, well, honey, cryptologic linguist, intel analyst is a little hard to say for somebody your age. That job required lots of Red Bull and even more discipline than learning the Russian language, because without saying too much, basically what we did was we sat in a room with no windows and listened to sound for 12 hours a day. So when I got to my duty station at Fort Hood, what had happened was we were in the midst of preparing to deploy to Iraq. And so my needs became a little bit different. The thing about any military job is that you may be trained for one thing, but if they need you somewhere else, you're gonna go. And so that's what I did. I learned to work in the motor pool. I learned how to work on Humvees. I learned how to change a tire. It was not the exciting adventure that I thought it was going to be, but it was what my country needed at the time. And let me tell you something, it was some of the best times of my life. At Fort Hood, they sent me over to learn to be an intelligence analyst. And what I learned there was that discipline and love for your country makes you a strong person. Eventually, I chose a path that was a little more family-friendly. I learned Kirk was coming into this world, so I had to make the choice. Was I going to deploy at 3 months, while she was 3 months old, or did God have other plans for me? So prayerfully, I decided to do what I said I would never do when I walked right off the stage in 1998, and I decided to move back home to Farwell. I have not made a better decision. This town, this school, and you guys are the reason that I am proud to be a veteran, and I'm proud to have fought for my country. I cherish every minute that I served my country. I made lifelong friendships and bonds. We do not skip a beat. Every time we talk, every time we meet. My best friend lives in Ohio. We see each other all the time. I learned educational skills through the military. I mean, you don't just have to learn a language. You can learn about computers. You can learn about trucks. There is a job skill for everything. I learned discipline because I didn't have any. Obviously, if you look, like I said, at my college transcript, I was so in love with life that I had no direction. But some of y'all probably ask, was it hard to be a female soldier? In the age of the Me Too era and the spotlight on women in the military, was it difficult? They're my brothers. They're my sisters. But was it difficult to be a female soldier? Absolutely. You don't get breaks. It's not like they say, oh, you're a girl, it's okay. It's like, oh, you're a girl, you decided to do this, so you're going to do it. I like to tell my daughter, I said, we don't run from hard things, we show up. And I learned that as a soldier. I learned to carry out and live the Army values, which are loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. These were priceless gifts that I received that have helped shape who I am and the person who I hope my daughter, my niece, my nephew, all you guys that I come into contact receive. We're at a tough time in our country right now. Nobody's getting along. Everything is crazy. And I was thinking about it last night. I said, if I were 18 now, or if I were 21 now, and I was thinking about joining the military, would I do it? Would I serve this country in the state that it's in right now? And the answer is yes. I would serve because I still believe in our nation. I believe in our people, and I believe in our freedom. I believe in you guys, our future generation, as you continue to carry on fights for the privileges that have been bestowed upon us. I believe with all of my heart and soul, just as Christ did, I believe in serving others as he served. This is the greatest country in the world, a country that those before me inspired me to fight for, a country that those very close to me have given their lives for, and a country that I am proud to have served, and a country that continue to be strong and thrive as long as we continue to support it and fight for it. I pray that we never take advantage of the freedom given to us. We have a freedom to disagree. We have a freedom to protest. We have a freedom to love, and sadly, we have the freedom to hate. These freedoms are blood-bought. And hopefully we will continue to fight for liberty, regardless of who is in office. Because serving this country is not about serving politicians. It's about serving the people who live and occupy this country. And with that I say, God bless America.
Chelsea. I joined the Navy the last year of the Vietnam War 47 years ago. And in 47 years, I've heard from all ranks and for all occasions, people giving speeches about patriotic values. In 47 years, it's the best I ever heard. Thank you. Very much. And again now. Normally, at this time, we introduce the veterans in the crowd. Usually, we fill up the front row, and because of the Russian flu and all the other problems we've had, we're still trying to recover. We're not going to have as many, but I'd ask any veteran now to come down to the front, if you would, please. Okay. My name is Commander Will Anderson. I served in the Navy from 1976 to 2004.
My name is Specialist Chelsea Woods. I served in the Army from 2002 to 2005.
My name is Lieutenant Colonel Les Ball, and I served in the Air Force from 1984 to 2010, and teaching JRTC at Clovis High School now.
Do not have the placing of the wreath with that. Thank you to everyone for coming today. I think that this was a beautiful morning for America. You know, I look out, you mentioned all the bad news you see on the television set, and then I look up and down 3rd Street, the street I grew up on, and see the people I've known my whole life, and people I'm still meeting. And I tell you what, I thank God every day. Thank God for everyone. Teachers, you can take charge of your outfits and march you back to class. I'm very sorry, we still have the blame of tax on it. Thank you all.